today's lesson is how to create lace fabric as a fabric pattern in Adobe Illustrator. So lace, here's my lace pattern up close, and you can see I drew that in and then I filled it into my bra CAD, or you can use whatever CAD that you want to put in your lace pattern, but we're using the bra CAD for now. What I want to do is, this is kind of a continuation of the lesson that we did where we created lace as trim. Slightly different aspect to doing it as a fabric design as opposed to a trim design, but we're going to start in the same way. We're going to do a Google search, and our option to search, I would probably type in lace fabric swatch, and that'll give you lots of different fabric swatches. So it won't be trim this time, it'll actually be the lace repeating across the fabric. So once you find one, if you like this one for instance, I would try and find one that's a little bit more simplistic with very obviously defined shapes. This one's a little bit muddier, so you want to make sure you pick one where the shapes are really easily defined and you can see how the shape of the design is illustrated in the actual lace fabric. And maybe not pick something that's really hard to see like this, where you can't even really see what the design looks like. So I would pick a high contrast coloration of a lace fabric so you can see the design, and then something with like some shapes that are easy to see. And then again, you're just going to right click copy image if the internet allows you to with this photo. If it doesn't, then you can do a screenshot, which is Shift Command 4. Either way, you're going to paste it into your artboard. So here's my swatch that I pasted into my artboard. And if it comes in with an X on it, there'll be a big X. So let me just actually grab another swatch from here just to show you, because I already fixed mine. Let me see if this one comes in. Nope, so it might not. So if your image does come in with a blue X on it when you select it, it'll have an X going all the way through like this. You would click on up top here and just click on the word embed, and that'll get rid of the X if that happens. It doesn't always happen with every photo, but you don't want that X in there. You want to embed that photo if it does come in with the X. All right, so now I have my photograph of the lace that I kind of want to work with and trace on. And what I'm going to do is do an object lock selection on it, because anytime I'm getting ready to trace, I just want to lock it. You also feel free, if you want to continue to use layers, you can put it on layer 2 and lock it that way as well. That's another option. But basically what I'm going to look at my pattern design, my lace design that I pulled from the internet. And I'm going to figure out where in the pattern it repeats. So I'm going to look and see, you can see my drawings already on here, but let me just pull this off for a second. So I'm going to look at my original fabric and say, okay, this flower repeats over here. I see that. And then these two flowers repeat over here. Okay, cool. Then I have this, and it looks like it repeats over here. So it looks like the pattern design goes across the same, and then it staggers layout this way. So the flower goes over here, and then it kind of reverses itself on the other side. So basically what I want to just point out is where what elements of this lace design do you like? You can copy it exactly as it is and just take a while to trace the part of the design you like, or just pick out certain elements that you like and make your own custom design. So it's up to you. You don't have to copy, in my assignment, you don't have to copy the lace exactly. In this part, what I want to do is just isolate out, I want to draw a square with the rectangle tool. So with the rectangle tool, you know you can draw square or rectangle shapes. I want to just isolate out the part of the design that I know repeats it again and again. So this flower, let me get rid of the toolbox so you see. This flower repeats over here again, and it also repeats over there. It also staggers over here. So all I want to do is just isolate out the section of the pattern where I know I'm going to see all the flowers in the lace pattern. So I know that this lace pattern repeats here, and then there's this pattern repeats here. This little leaf thing is over here. So I might want to just focus in on this inside this box, this little cluster here that gives me almost all the elements of the lace pattern right inside this box. And then what we're going to do later on is turn it into a pattern repeat, which will create the overall fabric look you see here, which is the all over print, the all over look of the pattern repeat. So this little cluster here will repeat over here and then repeat up the top. So we'll let Illustrator do that for us. Basically, all I want you to do is focus in on, let me get my toolbar back. Focus in on drawing just a little cluster of parts of the lace that you like, and have your little box that you created here, and this is going to be the part that you focus in is the things that are inside the box, and you can do an object lock selection on that box. So again, you don't move that around, just keep it in place when you're tracing. And basically all I did was, you know, I just want to have this side by side. So this flower right here is actually what I just drew over on top of over here. So basically what I did, and your design will be different than mine, but I want to show you the tools that I use to actually draw my design. I used the pen tool, and I made sure that I used a no fill color and only a stroke color for the outline of the flowers and outline of these petal details and stuff like that. I used the pen tool. And then I went to Windows Stroke, and I played with the different stroke weights. So here, you know, I knew that this area, again, this is the flower, it's the same flower over here. These areas here were really thick, so I might have did a thicker stroke weight here. So I did a 3-point stroke weight to get that thicker look. Same thing over here, I did a 3-point stroke weight to get that thicker look. This is the thicker lace design stitch here. So you might play with the different stroke weights. Some areas might be a little thinner. Like in these little clusters over here, I use a 0.75. I can't tell you what stroke weights to do. It's going to be depending on the look of your lace fabric that you chose from the internet. So judge based on that and play with various stroke weights. In these little sections here, and again, I want to look at the lace pattern. This is the same flower. This area was filled with solid color in these petals inside the flower. So what I did instead is I played with not a stroke outline like I have here. These are a stroke outline. I actually did a filled shape. So that's when I toggled between, you can see the petal change when I change it to a stroke color. When I toggle back and forth, the swap, fill, and stroke, I call it the toggle arrow. You can toggle back and forth between creating that petal as a red stroke outline, or you can change it over to the fill box, and now the shape that you drew actually is filled with color. So do some different variations of stroke lines and different various stroke weights. Some areas of your design might require to use the fill color with a no stroke. In these areas where these little areas in here where the look was a little bit more organic and not so perfect, I actually used the pencil tool and only a stroke color here because you can see the black is these little areas are hollowed out shape, and I would just draw random little circles here and, you know, just start playing with that. And anytime you draw, just remember you can always manipulate later. If you don't like the way something looks, the way you drew it, you can always take the white arrow and click on any of the drawing, click on any point that's in that stroke line, any curve handle, and move it around. Even on these bigger stroke lines, if I wanted to move something around or make it more curvy, I could pull up the curve handle. Anything can require manipulation. In these little areas here, again, I use a stroke color, not a stroke, a fill color, not a stroke color. So depending on your design, in this area, I used actually the ellipse tool because I knew I had a perfect circle, this section in here. I used the ellipse tool here and made a perfect circle in that area. So combination for your design, it's going to depend on what you actually pick as your lace design, but a combination of tools I would probably use to execute it would be the pen tool and the pencil tool in some areas where it's a little bit more organic looking, and then I would use the shape tool if the shape tool is very obvious to be used in your particular lace design, like mine was with this obvious circle. And I did another circle here. So these are all broken up into many different ways. I didn't mess with the little tiny micro mesh that's in here. I think that would be very, very hard to do, to make this super microscopic mesh. For this lesson, I focused more on the bigger shapes of the lace, so I encourage you to kind of focus in on that as well, like the larger shapes. that make up the lace. So once I get a little cluster, and I didn't end up doing the whole entire motifs, each little flower is called a motif, so I didn't do all the motifs inside this box to make this exact pattern. I actually just chose a little cluster of images inside the lace pattern that I liked. And then once I had that cluster chosen, I pulled it off I object grouped it. So you can take the black arrow. Remember, your picture and your box should be locked. So if it's locked, you should be able to just take the black arrow, hover over your little motif here of the little cluster of lace. And you can just do a copy paste, Command C, Command V, and that's what I did here. So here's my little pasted copy. And then once I saw it off of the actual lace picture that I had, that I traced over, I might want to add a few more elements if I feel like I need. So I added a couple random little stroke lines in here and just some other things. If I felt like some areas were a little bit empty, I can add some more elements with some loose stroke lines. So then once you have that, you know, we worked in a pop color because I wanted to make sure that the color up here is not the color of the lace. So you want to make sure you're working in a color you can see. So if your lace, you know, judge on the color of your lace picture, please pick another color, something you can actually see on top of it when you draw. So I used pink, so then obviously you're going to want to change your stroke line to black. So just remember to do your select same stroke color, and that'll change everything that's red to black. And then once you have that little cluster, you might want to just take it right into what object pattern make, which is the next step we're going to do. That's going to create anything you want to create as an all over pattern fabric. You're going to use object pattern make window to do. So you might want to take it in object pattern make right now and kind of take a look at what it looks like. So let's just highlight over top of our little black little lace outline drawing, and let's do an object pattern make. So anytime you want to make a pattern fabric repeat, you do use this window. Hit OK as soon as you get into it. Now I'm going to show you, this is the object pattern make window. It always comes with a different box. It comes with a pattern option box, and you'll also start to see your pattern repeat across the page. It's actually a secondary window to the artboard you were just working in, but it only functions whenever you do anything in here. It only functions once you hit the word done or cancel. It takes you right back into your artboard you were just working in. So this is the object pattern make window, and you can always tell you're in it not only because you see the pattern repeat, because you have to see this green line and then these area here, right, that's gray all the way across. You'll always see this heading over here in the top left hand corner with save a copy, done, and cancel. So that's when you know you're in the object pattern make window. Here's our pattern option box. So now I can see my pattern repeat, and what I like to do sometimes is to command minus, which zooms out, so that I can see more of my pattern repeating. You may like the way this looks, and if you do, you can hit done. I personally don't like it, so I'm going to show you a couple options in here to kind of play with. Pattern options, there's a couple things. There's tile type, you can click on that, and you can play with the different repeats in here, and you can see the way the diagrams look. It's going to take your little everything inside this blue box right here. So this is your little motif that you took into object pattern make window. It's represented into these little boxes here, and it shows you how it kind of repeats across based on the one that you pick. So if I do brick by row, that's what it did. It just kind of shifted things over. If I did brick by column, move things up and down. There's also brick offset, where you can play with different fractions where it moves it slightly in the same tile type. There's also pattern tile tool. If you click on that, now the interesting thing about that tool, once you activate it, it has what looks like scaling boxes that you get on the black arrow selection tool, but they're not scaling boxes. They're actually just boxes that pull the repeat closer and closer. See how when I pull it in, it starts to move the pattern repeat closer and cluster it and start to overlap it in some instances over top of each other. So usually I pull this box from the corner. You can also pull it from the top edge, and see when I pull it from top edge, the space of the white gets increased in between each little cluster. So you can play with the box, these little, they're not scaling boxes, they're more of just moving boxes that move across, move your pattern across. So say I don't like any of these and I feel like I actually want to add more elements to my lace pattern to make the repeat a little bit more dense. You can hit cancel. If you like it, hit done, and we'll get to what happens after you hit done later. I'm going to hit cancel. And now what I can do is I can take this little cluster, and I actually started adding more elements to make it a little bit more denser. And I didn't go back to the original fabric picture because I wanted to make a custom lace design myself. Again, you have the option to copy this lace pattern exactly as it is, but you will have to do that and make sure that you drew everything inside this box before you would take it into Object Pattern Make window. But if you want to just copy out a few things, trace over a few things like I did, and just start to customize it on your own, you can. So, you know, I kind of started grouping certain specific, I object ungrouped the original design so that I could pull elements off of it. So then I would go over certain elements and just group just this piece, for instance, and I copied and pasted it and scaled it a little smaller, put it up there, put another one over here. You can always scale it using the black arrow. I like this little area in here. I made that its own group, and then I copied and pasted it and brought it over into some areas here, and I scaled it with the black arrow and tossed it around the design. I took this flower and grouped everything inside of it, holding shift, and then I copied and pasted it and scaled it in some other areas, and then I took little clusters of these little circles and I copied and pasted them and put them in other places. So you can create even more variety in your lace design. You can just start off by seeing what the original design looks like in the Object Pattern Make window, watch it repeat and see if you like it. If you do like it, that's great, you can continue on. But if you don't, you can always copy and paste certain elements after you ungroup them, scale them, turn them, rotate them if you want to with the black arrow. Just wait for that double bendy arrow. To scale, you're going to hold shift because you want to keep everything proportional, and then you can just copy and paste certain things across the design. And now if you like this and you want to see that repeat, you're going to go to Object Pattern Make again, hit OK initially. Now you can see my initial repeat looks like this, and I can continue to play with different variations of tile type. I can play with the brick offset. I can even use the pattern tile tool and start to bring it in if I want more of a denser look. You really don't probably want is this kind of overlap look, because that's not what lace is going to look like, because all this actually gets stitched into the fabric, all these lines that you see. So you definitely probably want to keep some space in between each little cluster of images. Find the repeat you like, and once you like that, then you hit the word done. Okay, so now that I have a repeat that I like, what happens when you hit the word done is you go to Windows Swatches, right here, Windows Swatches, and this is our swatch box. Now every time you hit the word done, I can't unfortunately zoom in on the swatch box. The little squares are the size that they are. I can't make them bigger. I can only vertically stack them either like this, or vertical stack like that, or side by side layout, but I can't make them bigger. So what I want to just draw your attention to is once you hit the word done, you will see I have a couple different repeats in here, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but you will just see one little thumbnail view of your lace pattern in here. You'll see it'll always be at the end. I have a couple more above here, but that's because I kept creating different scales. But you're always going to see your lace pattern show up in Windows Swatches. Take whatever CAD you're going to do, in this case the bra CAD, copy and paste it, and now you're going to have another version of it where you fill it in with lace. So even if the CAD is grouped, like this one is grouped, what you're going to do to fill it in with lace is, even if it's a group shape body CAD, you can always take the white arrow and select on any shape. Remember, these were all individual shapes that we drew on that original bra CAD. And you don't have to object ungroup this bra CAD. As long as you use the white arrow, you can select individual shapes and then fill them with pattern. So I'm actually just going to hollow one side of them out, just to show you what I did to get this. So I'm going to click on one of the shapes in the bra, and you can hold shift and select more than one shape if you like. And then I'm going to fill it in with my new pattern my lace pattern shows up in window swatches. Oh, that's not the right one. I had another one in there. There it is, right there, number 2. This is my lace pattern that I did down here. So that's my lace pattern filled in, and then I obviously put it on that side. If you wanted to have a smaller scale, so once you dumped it into your bra CAD, and you might want a smaller scale version of this to see what that looks like, all you would have to do that is click and drag out of window swatches your original scale, which you see here and which started from here. This is the original scale. It's much larger. And then all you're going to have to do is either use the black arrow to scale it using the scaling boxes on the corner, or you can use the scale tool. But either way, you're going to pull from a diagonal corner when you scale. Hold shift, whether you use the black arrow or the scale tool, hold shift and scale it down. And make sure your bra CAD's kind of next to it, so you can kind of look and say, okay, I think I want to try that smaller scale, see what that looks like. Once you have that smaller scale scaled to what you think you want to try and put into your bra CAD, click and drag and bring it back into window swatches. That's why I have a few variations here, so I have a couple different scales. So now you're going to have a large scale, which for me was number 2, and then these are all my small scale versions. But if you only do it twice, you'll have one large scale and one small scale swatch in your window swatch box. And then you just go back to your pattern CAD again, and I'm just going to hollow it out so you can see. And you're going to take the white arrow and only select the shape itself, not the stitching or any of those loose pieces. Make sure your fill box is on top. And now I know my little small scale version of the swatch is on the end. So now you can see this one once was a big scale lace pattern like this. Now I have a variation of it smaller, and I think I like that better, so I might use that in presentation. The next part of this assignment that you're going to need to do is create a lace fabric swatch to represent the actual all over fabric that has the lace pattern in it that you use to cut and sew this bra. So what you're going to do to do that is you're going to take the rectangle tool, and you're just going to click and drag a square. And in this case for you at home, it might look like that, or it might have black on it. Maybe it's just a swatch like that, or maybe it got filled in with color or whatever, but you're going to have a rectangle or square swatch, and you're going to make sure you click on the same exact lace pattern with the same exact scale that you used in the bra here. So I know that's right there. And actually make sure, I made the mistake here, make sure it's in your fill box, not your stroke. So you want to make sure your lace pattern is in your fill box with a no stroke in your stroke box. So that's going to be your lace pattern fabric swatch, and you're going to present your bra CAD here with the lace filled inside with the same scaled pattern fabric right below it. And the finished outcome for this project in your CAD template is going to be this. Finished CAD template is going to look like this with your solid CAD front and back view listed with no color in it. Then you're going to have your lace trim as your brush illustrated over certain parts of the bra you can choose, but and then also an upscale up close version of your lace trim as a brush, where if I click on it, I can see a stroke line come through. Your lace filled fabric bra CAD with the swatch, the box filled with lace pattern fabric, and all the headings as you see here with your description CAD number 4, lace and assorted bras.